Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and welcome back to our series Understanding Insurance, where we bring you quick, bite-sized information on the topic of insurance. In the last video, we established that risk can be split into 4 groups. We also discussed 3 ways in which those risks could be managed. However, we only discussed Group 1 and Group 2 of risk. So today, we'll be continuing right where we left off and talking about Group 3, low frequency, high severity, and Group 4, high frequency, high severity. So if you haven't watched our last video, we highly recommend that you go back and watch it before continuing on this one. Otherwise, let's start with Group 3. So Group 3, which is low frequency, high severity. This means that the risk in this group rarely turns into loss. However, if it does, the consequences could prove fatal, or it could incur high financial loss. And unlike Group 2, which was of high frequency, we are unable to predict the total loss that we may suffer within a certain period of time. However, due to its severity, we should not ignore this group of risk. Its severity also makes retaining or ignoring the risk inappropriate for the situation. Now, transferring the risk is a reasonable option. However, who would take it? People would love to get a transfer of money, but who would want to get a transfer of potential disaster? Who do we transfer our risk to then? This is where insurance companies come in. Insurance companies volunteer to take your risk and bear the financial losses incurred if that risk turns into loss. Now, I'm sure you noticed my saying volunteer with quotation marks. This is because what they do isn't technically volunteerism. They will ask you for a fee called a premium. Now, the premium will be significantly smaller than the potential loss that the risk would incur. Otherwise, insurance would lose its relevance. There's no point in getting rid of risk up front if the fee is higher than or close to the maximum loss that we may suffer. So why would an insurance company take over your risk for a much smaller fee than the potential loss? Now, the key to answering this is in the fact that the insurance company has the ability to predict the amount of loss they would have to bear at a certain time or within a certain period of time. But how would they do this, given that the frequency of the risk is low, as we mentioned before? Do they use magic or hire fortune tellers? Well, of course not. What they do is increase the frequency by collecting similar risks from many risk owners, which are the insured. The more risks, the better, because this increases the accuracy of their prediction. This is the law of large numbers that says that when we estimate an unknown parameter of a population through sampling, the estimation will be closer to the actual value as the sample size gets larger. So in a nutshell, insurance companies are able to calculate the expected amount of loss through pooling of risks and utilizing the law of large numbers. By adding other costs, such as acquisition and management expenses, as well as the profit margin, the company arrives at a premium to charge the risk owner, which is the insured. Okay, but what if the insurance company makes a mistake here? What if the calculation is wrong and the total loss that they suffer turns out to be far greater than what they calculated? Now, this is actually an entire topic by itself, and we will touch on it once we reach the topic of reinsurance. For now, let's continue on to Group 4. So Group 4 is the risk that frequently turns into loss and has highly severe consequences. Compared to the other 3, this group is clearly the most dangerous. It is an extreme category and people generally try to avoid it. The risk of flooding for residents who live near the riverbank is actually a fine example. So in the rainy season, their homes are always flooded and the water brings damage to their house, their furniture, and any other items that are caught in the flood. But because the floods arrive so often, the residents learn from experience on how to reduce the impact. For example, since the floods only drowned the first floor in the house, all electronic equipment, important documents, and other valuables would be moved to the second floor. So other than natural disasters like the flood, some jobs or hobbies are dangerous to the point that we can actually put them in risk category 4. stuntmen, matadors, also known as bullfighters, circus actors, and motorbike riders are a few examples. Now, although you may argue that as a person's skill increases, they turn into risk type 3 because the frequency of accidents decrease. Now, would an insurance company accept the transfer of risk of type 4? Generally, no, they don't. Although the high frequency allows for better prediction, the magnitude of the losses of each event makes the risk of this type economically unviable to be managed by an insurance scheme. The premium that needs to be paid upfront by the risk owner becomes too high relative to the potential loss itself. That is why insurance excludes risks associated with hazardous work or hobbies. When risk cannot be transferred to another party, the best solution for this type of risk is to avoid it. For those who are in flood-prone areas, to move away, for stuntmen to just resign, and for those with dangerous hobbies to, stop doing them. So to summarize, Group 3 of risk is the kind of risk that would be managed by an insurance company, while Group 4, due to its high frequency and severity, is something we should avoid altogether. That's all we have for today. As always, thank you for watching. We hope this was useful. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Dikhara TV. We hope you tune in for the next video. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.